Hey, what is going on, everybody? It is your boy Primitive AK here, back with another Battlefield video for you guys today. Today, if you are not aware, the new update for Battlefield 1 has just been released, and I'm going to be covering some of what I think are some of the most crucial updates that were added to this patch. You guys can read the full patch notes in the description. I will leave a link to it in the description box. Be sure to check that out. But I'll be going over what I think are some of the most game-changing updates to the game. So, first things first, operations did get tweaked yet again to combat the issue of finding and matching into empty operations servers. This has been a huge problem in the Battlefield 1 franchise, and it's honestly one of the most annoying things ever, especially since this is one of my favorite game modes, and the fact that I'm constantly loading into empty servers. But there is some light to this. Hopefully this fixes the issue. It's not quite what we asked for, which is unfortunate, but first things first, Battlefield 1 has added I guess you could say, continuously ending operations. So if you stay in the same operations, what's going to happen is that you can actually, this is something they're going to add later on, they're actually going to add it so that you can continuously play that same operation until you're able to leave the server, or at least until you want to. And on top of that, what it's going to do is, if the match is over, it's going to actually put you on the other side. So if you started as the French army in the first operation, you'll now be on the German side when it loops back to the end of operation screen. So this makes it so you don't have to constantly keep going to the menu. This is a good start, but DICE, you really need to add a server browser for operations. I'm tired of matching into empty servers. It's really infuriating, and it gets kind of annoying, and it just makes me feel like this game just gets even more dead every patch because they're just ignoring everybody's response for the server browser for operations. So quite unfortunate, but this is a good start. But DICE, you really need to listen to the community. Second off, Premium Ferns is going to be making a return soon again with the new update in the Name of the Tsar. Update's going to be coming out soon. The DLC for that's going to be making a return, so be sure to stay tuned for that. There's no date yet, but it will be coming back. On top of that, some of the updates they've made changes to the domination game mode. They've made the ticket count from 200 to 100. I don't really play domination, so I could really care less about this one. They've also tweaked the scoring values for capturing flags in Conquest, meaning that if you capture a flag, you get less points. However, if you stay on the flag, you get even more points for taking the flag and burning the flag, so this is a pretty good thing for people that play the objective, or if you're dying on flags. This happens to me a lot. I die on flags a lot, so I cap it pretty much all the way, and then I die right at the last second before I get that huge score bonus. So this is a pretty good thing, also a good change in my opinion. Moving on, they tweaked the self-repair for the tanks, the Saint Shaman, Pierce Arrow, A7B, and FT17 tanks. This is a really good thing in my opinion. They've reduced the health gain self-repair cycle from 320 to 200, meaning that you're going to get less health for repairing. But on top of that, to combat this, what they did was they reduced the time taken to complete a self-repair cycle from 8 seconds to 5 seconds. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, but I'm actually really hyped to see what they do with this, and I think it's a good change in my opinion, especially for really good tankers that can stay alive a lot longer, but not nerfing the tanks in a way to where they make them completely useless. Moving on, we got more changes to the field gun and stationary AA guns. They've made field gun and stationary AA repairable. So this was a big problem for pilots that could go 100-0 every single game. Essentially, that's not necessarily going to be possible as much. While I think that the constant nerfs to the aircrafts are a bit annoying, this can actually be a good thing, I guess you could say, because the field gun and stationary AA will now enter a disabled state once the pilot has taken out the field guns down to 50% health, where they will become unusable, but they are not destroyed. You can no longer destroy them, because once the guns were, previous to the patch, once they were destroyed, you were unable to spawn those guns again. So the pilots were pretty much just invulnerable and invincible to any attacks that would come to them. Only way to take them out was K-bullets and maybe a nicely placed tank shot. So this is a pretty good thing. The only thing you can do to get that field gun back to normal is use a repair tool to get it back to 100%. This is a good thing because the repair tool is pretty much never used. The only time you see a repair tool is when you see a full squad of repair monkeys trying to save a tank, which is pretty annoying in my opinion. Also silly, but still a good change in my opinion. So this is a pretty good thing. Moving on, they've increased the damage of the Airship Busters variant primary MG from 32 to 40. This is really, really good. This puts the AA's DPS on par with fighter MGs. Essentially, this was for one of the planes, the attack planes, was pretty much useless. Nobody used it because it was nowhere near the DPS of the fighter MGs. So I'm definitely going to give this a shot. They also reduced the drop of those projectiles. So hopefully we see similar DPS. That's why I never used it, because of the drop and the slow rate of fire and less damage. It wasn't that great in my opinion. So the fact that they've increased this damage will make it great for both ground targets and air targets. They've also added a secondary weapon, Incendiary Ammo. Incendiary Ammo does greatly increase damage to the plane parts, allowing for the dogfighter to quickly cripple an enemy by breaking a wing. This is another great change to the planes. I'm curious to see how this one's going to play out, because, you know, Trench Fighter got nerfed in the last update, so it's curious to see. I'm curious to try different types of loadouts with the planes, see exactly how they play out. I know the Incendiary Ammo was decent on the when you could drop like incendiary grenades on some of the attack planes. I know those were actually very good, but they weren't necessarily viable, mainly because people were smart enough to just walk right out of it and get a repair kit, or not a repair kit, a health kit from either a teammate or just drop it for themselves. Moving on, they've also increased this 37mm H heavy, I guess you could call it heavy shell ammo, from 4 to 5 for the little tank. This is actually really good, and they've also replaced the secondary case shell with a coaxial HMG. These changes should help this tank better fulfill its general role. I'm really surprised that they implemented this, because most tanks always had that ridiculous secondary shotgun shell, which honestly I thought was completely useless. I know some PC players really like the shotgun shell, but I never liked it in the first place. I think this is a really great change to the tank, and they've added it primarily for the FT package tank, the close support tank. Moving on, they've also increased the reload time on the autocannon from 2.5 seconds to 3.75 seconds. This was a change done primarily for the flanker tank, and they've also added some similar changes to the howitzer tank and its HMG and the heavy shells for it. So moving on, they've also made some serious changes to the bayonet charge, and I'm very happy about this one. They've reduced the damage reduction while in charge. Weapons will now hit charging players for normal damage. So you're no longer going to be that ridiculous tank running around with bayonet charge. I'm sorry for you guys that were abusing that, but this is a great change, a long needed change for the bayonet charge. And also, you can no longer do those ridiculous 180 turns. This was a primary problem on the PC platforms, not so much a problem on PS4, but it still was a problem. So what they did was they've decreased the rotation and amount that you're able to turn with the bayonet charge. You can't do those ridiculous 180 turns anymore with the bayonet charge. You now can only go 50 degrees maximum during the prepared state. Also added an input modifier disabling strafe while charging. So bayonet charge is now officially nerfed. I am extremely happy that they've implemented this change. It was much needed, a long time. I could not stand getting 180 degree turned by somebody with a bayonet charge, and there's nothing I can do, especially when I'm shooting them in the face, because they have a damage reduction and take less damage. Much needed change. Great job, DICE. Really happy about this one. They've also added a camera shake advanced gameplay option to adjust the amount of camera shake caused by explosions. I'm not going to say this was needed, but it's definitely appreciated, because the screen shake definitely does get annoying, especially if you're by the airship and he's just dropping grenades like crazy and there's not much you can really do. So I'm definitely going to tweak out these the screen shake option, so that way my aim doesn't get thrown off all over the place. I mean, you guys can see it in this gameplay. My aim's kind of all over the place right now with the screen shake. So great job, DICE, with that. Another welcome change, so definitely great job on that. And lastly, they've also looked to fix some of the kill trading problems. I'm not entirely sure if this worked. We'll just have to check it out, and I'll see how many times I get kill traded when I actually play the game, and I will be streaming most likely tomorrow to check this out to see how it plays out. But what they've done was they've implemented a region threshold settings for server-side hit detection, meaning 132nd milliseconds for US and Europe, 200 milliseconds elsewhere. So I guess this could be a good thing, but DICE, when it comes to netcode, can really be a hit or miss. We haven't seen netcode as well as Battlefield 4 when they finally finished up that game with DICE LA. Did an excellent job on that game. There are a few other netcode changes, of which I'm not really entirely sure if they're going to work. They've also fixed the wrong hit indicator displays while dying. We'll actually, like I said, there's really no way to tell if this actually fixed the game for the netcode problems and trading and kill trading. But you'll just have to go inside the game yourself, check it out, see if it actually did anything. I'm most certainly going to check it out myself, see exactly if it's anything decent. But out of these changes, let me know in the comments box which one you guys are excited for most. I'm excited primarily for the changes to the tanks, the planes, and also the conquest changes, and most of all, the bayonet charge nerf. Much needed change. Great job, DICE. Still some things that need to be done with Battlefield 1. DICE, you really need to get up off your lazy butts and add server browser to Conquest, but the fact that we can stay in the same operation is a great start. So anyways, let me know if you guys enjoyed this video. It is your boy Primitive AK signing out. Peace.
The defense have fought for